Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year should be a special schus for Simcha ben Necha Gittel, lebracha v'hatzlacha b'chol maaseh yadav, and also for Moshe ben Peshadina. We're going to be learning B'siyata Dishmaya, Akasha, and a beautiful teretz based on the Sefer Avnei Tzion of Hagon, Rabbi Tzion Khan, Zechat Tzadik Levracha's Yurtzeit is this week, one of the great and unknown Gaonim of the previous generation. Nifter in the early 1990s. The Ostrovtza Gaon in his Sefer Meir Einei Chachamim and Av Kuf Yudalad Amid Brains brings the following kasha, that in the Gemara in Maseches Pesachim and Av Hey Amid Beis, Rava says Shma Minam de Rabbi Akiva Tlas Shma Min Tlas. We learn from Rabbi Akiva, who says that Biur Chometz has to be on Erev Pesach and it can't be on Pesach itself. We learn three things. One of the three things that we learn is that Ein Biur Chometz Ela B'Sreifa. And the question is that Biur Chometz has to be burned, and Memela it can't be done on Pesach. From the fact that it can't be done on Pesach, it must be Ein on Yantiv, it must be that Ein Biur Chometz Ela B'Sreifa, and therefore it has to be done on Erev Yantiv. And the question is that in Pesachim Daf Chav Zayin Amid Beis we learn that Ein Biur Chometz Ela Sreifa with a Mamatzinu from Nosar. That just like Nosar is Bibalto Tiru, you're not allowed to leave it over, and you have to burn it. So Chometz also you're not allowed to leave over Chometz Bayar Bayamatze, and you have to burn it. So you learn Biur Chometz from in a Mamatzinu from Nosar. Now in the Gemara in Beitzah and Daf Beis Amid Aleph, Beis Shammai holds that Seor b'Kizayis v'Chometz b'Kakoseves, that the Isser of owning Seor, leaven, is with a Kizayis, and Chometz is a Kakoseves, a bigger shear. And if so, that Bal Yeroi of Chometz is b'Kakoseves, we can no longer learn Chometz from Nosar that it has to be b'Sreifa. Why? Because Nosar, you're not allowed to leave over the carbon. That's only a Kazayas. But Mashen Kain Chometz, which the Bal Yeroi is a Kakoseves. So how can you possibly learn Chometz from Bal Totiru, from Nosar, that it's B'Sreifa? Chometz is a bigger shear, so you can't learn one from the other. Maybe Dafka Nosar is requiring Sreifa because it's a Kazayas. But Chometz, which Kazayas you're fine, there's no, the Isser is a Kakoseves, shear is a Kakoseves, so Memela, maybe there you don't need Sreifa. And if so, it's Shver, Rabbi Akiva learns from Achion Biyom Arishon Tashbisu, Seor Mi Batechem, that it's when it's on Erev Yantiv, that it says in the pasuk that you have to get rid of the Seor on the first day, and he learns that it's talking about Erev Yantiv. And we can say the Rabbi Akiva holds like Beis Shammai that Chometz is b'Kakoseves, and we can't learn from Nosar Chometz. We can only learn Seor that it's b'Sreifa, since its shear is b'Kazayis, like Nosar. And it's muchach then that tashbisu, that it says by Seor, is dafka me'erev yantiv, because it can't be on yantiv because it has to be burned. So that's dafka the Seor, but not chometz. Mashenkein chometz. That shir b'Kakoseves, you can't learn from Nosar that it has to be b'Sreifa. Maybe Rabbi Akiva holds b'chometz that hashbasasu b'chol dovar. And it's not, and Rabbi Akiva holds like Beis Shammai in another halach of Yom Tov that we don't say mitoch. So maybe also in Chometz b'Kakoseves he holds like Beis Shammai that the shear of Chometz is not a Kazayit, it's a Kakoseves. And if it's a Kakoseves, that means that it cannot be learned from Nosar, because Nosar, the shear is a Kazayit, so Dafka Nosar is b'Sreifa but not Chometz. Only Seor, which is b'Kazayis, can be learned from Nosar. And if if that's the case, how can Rava prove from Rabbi Akiva that he holds that ein biur chometz ela sreifa? Maybe it's not true. Maybe Rabbi Akiva holds that chometz is b'chol davar, ein biur soor ela sreifa. That yes, but not chometz, because chometz can be b'chol hashbasasu b'chol davar. That's not learned from Noser. That has a bigger shear. So how can he prove ein biur chometz ela sreifa when maybe yesh biur chometz b'chol davar hashbasasu b'chol davar dafka soor is b'sreifa learning from Noser, but not chometz? Because Rabbi Akiva's lashon is Harei omer ach b'yom rishon tashbisu sor mibatechem uksiv kol melacha lo yaseh behem u'metzinu lahavar she'av melacha. It says to get rid of the sor, but havar is an av melacha. You're not allowed to do it on Yantif. And memela, the pasuk must mean that you have to do it on erev Yantif. So he must hold that ein biur chametz ela b'sreifa, says Rava. But maybe no. Maybe dafka sor is b'sreifa, but chametz not, because it can't be learned from noser. So the truth is that b'siyata d'shmaya, we said siyata d'shmaya that we already gave a shir, and we already gave over one teretz. And now we're going to give a second teretz, al derech ha-pilpul, lefi the ge'oinas mamish of Hagon Rebbe Ben Sion Khan, a great Talmud Chacham, a Holocaust survivor. He was a Rav before the war already in St. Peter, Senpeter, and we have a sefer of his when he was 20, which is, just impossible that a 20-year-old can write such a sefer, but he wrote it. Just pile plos, what he knew in his gaonis. And then afterwards he went to Williamsburg, and he sold, he was involved in business, Svarim, if I'm not mistaken, and he learned. He mamish learned. He wrote Shuvas, and he wrote the Avnei Tzion and other Svarim. I was once at his house visiting his son. He wasn't alive anymore. Went to see his son to buy the Svarim, to meet his son. His son's also a big Talmud Chacham. So he says as follows, that in the Pnei Yoshu and they have to hold cup, Midarf Halten cup, that in the Pnei Yoshu and the Tzlach and Beitza, Zainam at Beis, they ask, and that it says there that according to Beis Shammai, Lichtov Rachmana Chometz, V'lo Ba'is Soor, all the Torah had to say was Chometz. And you don't have to tell me to get rid of the Soor, and I'm going to say, Ma Chometz, that Ein Chimutzo Kasha, Ma Doch Chometz, that it, what is leaven? Leaven makes it the Chometz. It makes it leaven. That's what Soor does. But Chometz is less Chometzdik. So Ma Chometz she'ein chimutzo kasha. Because Zayis, Chometz, that it's not so Chometzdik. It's just a Kazayis. So Soor, that chimutzo kasha, lo kol shekain. Soor, that it's more Chometzdik, because it causes other things to leaven. It should certainly be a Kazayis. So why b'chlal do you have to write Chometz? That's what the Gemara says. So the kasha the Achronim ask is that we paskin in Makis and other places, Makis hey, that ain Onshin min Hadin. Oy bazoi had the Torah not written Soor, and we would have just learned it from a Kal from Chometz. You would have said that for Soor you don't get Malchus because ain Onshin min Hadin, and because of this the Torah wrote Soor explicitly to say that you also get Malchus. So what's the Gemara's kasha that don't write Soor and you learn the shear of Soor from Chometz? You have to write from a Kal v'chomer. You have to write it because ein Onshin min Hadin, otherwise you wouldn't be able to give an Onesh. And so asks the Prima Gadim, Psich Halochos Pesach, and in the Gufei Halachos of Marash Al-Ghazi. However, in the Tshuvas Shagas Aryeh in Siman Pei, in the Shara Melech, Perak Beis, Machol Siris Halacha Aleph, where Metaretz, according to the Magid Mishnah, Perak Beis, Mi Macholas Asuros, Halacha Aleph, that where there's a lav haba mechlal essay besides the kal v'chomer, then mazhirin ve'onshin min hadin. If anyway you have a lav haba mechlal essay besides the kal v'chomer, now you can use the kal v'chomer to be manish min hadin. And so too we can say that since there's an assay of ach b'yoyim harishon tashbisu seor mibatechem, and this essay is going on all of the days of Pesach, we have to get rid of the seor, like the Nodibita writes in Madurit Ne'arachaim Siman Samech, and the Shut Maria and Arachaim Siman Kuf Chav Beis, and the Shut Gorai Yehuda Siman Kuf Yud. So if so, in such an instance, Mazhirin V'Onshin Min Hadin. In other words, we already have an essay. So once you already have an essay to Asir Seor, so then you wouldn't need to write it again. And that's what the Gemara is asking. That don't write Seor, and I'll know it as a Kal V'chomer from Chometz. And don't tell me that ain't Onshin Min Hadin. You are going to get an Onesh here Min Hadin, because there's already an essay that's answering Seor. So since there's an essay on the Seor explicitly, so you would get Malchus, even if you would have just learned the Kal V'chomer from Chometz. That's the Gemara's kasha. Don't write Seor, and only write the Isser of Chometz. And you'll know from a Kal V'chomer that the Seor certainly is Asr, and you can even get punished for the Seor. Why? Because we already have an essay answering Seor, and therefore Onshin Min Hadin. And so answers the Tama Melech in Perik Beis Mishchita Alach Aleph, the Shuas Yankiv and Even Ezer and Siman Chaf Ayin Sham. Now in the Korban Aaron in Parashas Shmini, he writes the reason that if there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer, you give an Onesh Min Hadin. It's because that Ein Onshin Min Hadin is because the Kal V'chomer can't give you two madregas. It can't say the Gufa Isser and also the Onesh. All the Kal V'chomer can do is give you one madreg, give you the Isser. Can't give you an Isser and then also an Onesh. However, when the Isser is Mavur Be'essay, when you already have the Isser because of the Isser Essay, or the Laba B'Mechlal Essay, then you can learn one Madrega Min Hadin. You can just learn the Onesh part. Ad Kan Divrei HaKorban Aaron brought in the Kinas Vradim in Klal Aleph and the Malo Haruim in Mareches Ayin Os Tes Zayin. However, the truth is that Tosas in Pesachim Daf Mem Aleph Amid Aleph in Divor Maschil Ika argues with the Rav HaMagid, like the Mishnah Melech says in Perak Beis Milchos Machol Seres Halacha Aleph. And it's because Tosfos holds another reason of Ein Onshin Min Hadin. Again, what did the Rav HaMagid say? The Rav HaMagid said that where there's a lav haba mechlal asay besides the Kal V'chomer, then mazhirin va'onshin min hadin. So too, the Achronim added that once there's an essay, also mazhirin va'onshin min hadin. So that's the opinion of the Rav HaMagid, the Magid Mishnah. However, Tosfos ding zik mit Magid Mishnah, he argues, and he doesn't hold that if there's a lav haba mechlal asay, then onshin min hadin. Why? So he obviously holds another reason for Ein Onshin Min Hadin. Before we said the reason for Ein Onshin Min Hadin is that a Kal V'chomer can't give you two madregas. But here it all has to do is give one madrega, i.e. the Onesh. So it should be cool, it should be fine. But Tosfos, who argues with Rabbi Magid, obviously doesn't hold that way. So he's obviously learning another reason of Ein Onshin Min Hadin. What's Tosfos' reason of Ein Onshin Min Hadin? So it must be like it says in the Sefer Halichas Olam, in Shar Dalet Perik Beis, in the Korban Aaron Midas Aaron. Perik Beis Chelik Yud Gimel. Because maybe there's a pirchat of the Kal V'chomer, and since we don't know, maybe there's a pirchat of the Kal V'chomer. Ein Onshin Min Hadin brought in the Ginas Vradim in Klal Aleph, and he writes that according to this reason, even though there is an Isser without the Kal V'chomer, Ein Onshin Min Hadin, and that's the opinion of Tosfos. So again, Tosfos is going to hold that the reason Ein Onshin Min Hadin, even if there's an Isser without the Kal V'chomer, is because maybe there's a pircha in the Kal V'chomer. And if there's a pircha in the Kal V'chomer, how can we possibly give somebody a punishment if there's a pircha, or if maybe there's a pircha? Now it says in the Sefer Lekach Tov and Klal Beis, Rabbi Yosef Engel, Beis Oitzer, Klal and Vavos Gimel, that maybe there's a pircha of the Kal V'chomer is only a miut. It's only a minority of times. Because Roiv Pa'amim, since Chachamim darshan the Kal V'chomer, you can assume that ain't lo pircha. And therefore the Rav Magid holds that lo chashin, and you're not choshish for this pircha, even ladine, since even ladine nefashos, we go after the Roiv. So here also you can follow the Rov and assume that there's no pircha, and therefore, if we don't have a pircha in the Kal V'chomer that we know about, Onshin min Hadin, as long as there's already a pre-existing Isser. Okay? I hope that you're still with me. Now the Reb Meir holds in Yavamis Daf Kuf Yates Amid Aleph and in Gittin and Daf Beis Amid Beis and a number of places that we're Chashin and Lamiyuta, we're Choshish for the Miyut. Rebbe Akiva holds in Makis also Daf Zayin Amid Aleph B'Choris Daf Chaf Amid Beis that you're Choshish for the Miyut. Look in Tyson Chul and Daf Yud Beis Amid Aleph Divor Maskil Pesach, other places. That Reb Meir is Choshish for the Miyut is only Midrabanan. However, from the Rashban Chulin and Daf Yud Beis Divor Maskil Levachitayim, it's mashma that he holds that according to Reb Meir, you're Choshish for the Miyut Midoiraisa, and so is mashma Midivre Iran B'Chidushav, and so holds Tosis and Nida Daf Lamed Beis Amid Aleph that Reb Meir is Choshish LeMiyut Midoiraisa. And Ibazoi, Rabbi Akiva also. Rabbi Akiva bevadei chayish l'miyut min haTorah. Rabbi Akiva is definitely chayish miyut min haTorah, because Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon say in Makkos of Zayin Amud Aleph that if we were in the Sanhedrin, lo nerag adam me'olam, and the Gemara says because maybe m'makom sayif nekev haya, maybe we never kill somebody because maybe in a miyut of cases, if this guy was a murderer, maybe he was already killing a treifa. So this is daraisa. They would never carry out the death penalty. They would always be choshish for the miyut that this guy wasn't really a murderer. So they're definitely choshish for miyuts. So midaraisa, Rabbi Meir is choshish for miyut according to the Rashba, and certainly according to Rabbi Akiva, we're choshish for the miyut midaraisa. Look also in the Leiv Aryeh and Chulin in Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. And in the Tshuvas Beis Yitzchak in Yeridei Chelik Aleph Siman Lamites Ois Yud Beis. Oibazoi, according to Rabbi Akiva, even if there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer, nevertheless, Ein Onshin Min Hadin. Why? Because maybe there's a pircha for the Kal V'chomer, like we said before, in the name of the Halichas Olam and the Korban Aaron. If you're going to say that Roiv Pa'amim, since Chachamim darshan the Kal V'chomer, we can assume there's no pircha. Yeah, but Rabbi Akiva is Choshish L'miyut Min HaTorah, and therefore Ein Onshin Min Hadin, according to Rabbi Akiva, even if there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer. What does it matter if there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer? Maybe there's a pircha, and Rabbi Akiva is Choshish for that miyut of cases. There's a pircha. Now, Rabbi Eliezer holds in Yevamis and Daf Samach Aleph Amud Beis that a ketana is Messiah Bemes, and it's muchach that he's not choshish for the miyut. Maybe she's an islandess. If she's an islandess, his Yibum is not good. From the fact that a katana is Messiah Bemes, it's muchach that he's not choshish for the miyut. Look in the Melo Haruah Mareches Ruba and Ois Dalid. If so, also Beis Shammai holds that we're not choshish for the miyut. Why? Because Rebbe Eliezer Shamuti Haya. Rebbe Eliezer was a Shamuti. He was outed. Why? Because he was mitalmidei Beis Shammai, as it says in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Amud Beis and a number of other places. According to Beis Shammai, if there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer, you do give an Oynesh Min Hadin, because you're not choshish for the miyut. You're not choshish. Maybe there's a pircha for the Kal V'chomer. So now, farentfert the kasha of the Goyin Me'astrovtze, because the Gemara in Beitza says that according to Beis Shammai, sor because Ais v'chometz v'kakoy seves lichtov rechmano chometz, and you wouldn't eat sor, and you'd learn sor from chometz from a Kal V'chomer. And if you're going to say I ein Onshin Min Hadin, no, since there's an essay of tashbisu without the Kal V'chomer, you would be Oynesh Min Hadin, like the Rav Magid said. Since according to Beis Shammai you're not choshish for the miyut, so in such an instance there's an essay without the Kal V'chomer, Onshin Min Hadin. And you're not choshish, maybe there's a pircha of the Kal V'chomer, because generally there is not a pircha of the Kal V'chomer. So it's muchach that according to Beis Shammai, Shiur, and the Gemara goes weiter, so then why Taka did it right, both of them? Shiur shel zeh lo kashiur shel zeh, that chometz b'kazayis v'sor b'kazayis v'chometz b'kakoy seves. And that is Beis Shammai. So the Gemara ought gefrek zeir get according to Beis Shammai that why do you have to write both? And you're going to say, I ein Onshin min Hadin. No, here you would be Onish min Hadin because you already have an essay and you're not choshish for the pircha. You already have an essay without the kal v'chomer, and then you would be you already have an essay without the kal v'chomer, and therefore you would give an Onish min Hadin. So therefore you don't have to write both Sor and Chometz. And you're going to say maybe there's a pircha, Beis Shammai isn't choshish for the pircha because Beis Shammai isn't choshish for the miut. So therefore the Gemara says, so what do you need to write both of them for? So it must be, the reason according to Beis Shammai you need to write both of them is because, even though we have a kal v'chomer, is because Shira Shel Zeh, Lo Shira Shel Zeh, Sor b'Kazayis v'Chometz b'Kakoy Seves. That's all according to Beis Shammai. But according to Rabbi Akiva, who's choshish for min HaTorah, according to him, even if there's an essay without the kal v'chomer, ein Onshin min Hadin, maybe there's a pircha to the kal v'chomer. So if we would have learned Sor from Chometz with the kal v'chomer, you would have said that Sor you don't get malchus because ein Onshin min Hadin. And therefore you had to write it because it wouldn't be enough to give you malchus just from the kal v'chomer because you're not giving malchus from a kal v'chomer. And therefore you can't come say weiter like you did according to Beis Shammai, that shiur shel zeh, lo shiur shel zeh. They had to write them both to tell you that they have different shiurim. No, according to Rabbi Akiva, you had to write them both because otherwise you wouldn't be able to give malchus because ein Onshin min Hadin, he's choshish for the miut. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you can't say shiur shel zeh, lo shiur shel zeh, and Chometz b'Kakoy Seves. So we're bechrech. We have to say that he doesn't hold like Beis Shammai. That he doesn't hold like Beis Shammai. That shiur shel zeh, lo shiur shel zeh. And that's why Rava proved very nicely that according to Rabbi Akiva, ein biur chometz ela b'sreifa. Because it's Rabbi Akiva the shitasai that you can't be mechalek between Sor and Chometz, and therefore the shear of both of them is a kazayis, and therefore you can even learn Chometz from Noisar that the shear is a kazayis, and therefore you can say very nicely that ein biur Chometz ela b'sreifa because taka according to Rabbi Akiva Chometz can be learned from Noisar. It's just only if you would take the mahalach of Beis Shammai, then you would say that they have different shiurim. So Chometz can't be learned from Noisar. And maybe hashbasase b'chol davar, and it's only tashbisu soor. It's only soor that's you have to burn, and that must be that has to be done in erev Yom Tif, because tashbisu soor mi batechem. Like the pasuk the Gemara brings. So ach be'am rishon tashbisu soor mi batechem. So it's dafka soor that Rabbi Akiva holds. That was the kasha. Maybe it's soor but not chometz because Rabbi Akiva holds chometz hashbasasa b'chol davar, and it doesn't. You can't learn it from noisar that it has to be burned because it has a bigger shear than nosar. So maybe dafka nosar has to be burned and not chometz. So how do you learn that ein biur chometz ela b'sreifa? Maybe ein biur soor ela b'sreifa, but not chometz because chometz can't be learned from noisar. So the teretz is that after the whole mahalach that we have, we see that Rabbi Akiva holds that you had to write both chometz and soor in order to teach you the lesson that you're even getting malchus for soor, and therefore you can learn the lesson. They have different shiurim. So if they're the same shiur, they're the same shiur of a kazayis. Merely you can learn both from Noisar, and both are burned. And since both are burned, that's what forced Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, then therefore it can't be on Yantif. It can't be on Yantif because you can't burn on Yantif. And from this, Rava says, we see from Rabbi Akiva that ein biur chometz, even chometz ela b'sreifa. It has to be b'sreifa. It can't be hashbasasa b'chol davar, even chometz, because chometz is not going to be a bigger shear than nosar, and chometz can be learned from nosar, and even not only nosar is b'sreifa, but ein biur chometz ela sreifa. Wow, that was $1 million. Okay, so I hope you got that, and if not, you can listen to the shiur again or 4 more times. Same price. And if you want to see it inside, in a veinig, as they say in the yeshivas, you can look in the Sefer Avnei Tzion in Chelek Beis and Siman Aleph. This is the second shiur we had being Mitarit this Kasha. And then you thought this was enough, right? You said, woo! You already had this. What does he need more for? But I promise you, sweet friends, there's a lot more where this came from. And we should be Zeicha Lilmodu Lamed Lishma V'Lasan. It should be an Ilu Neshama for our Goyna Mechaber and Tzion Khan, Zeicha Tzadik Levrocha. Amen v'amen. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.